Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at how hackers, taxes, and the future of money are all kind of tied together.
It's a really interesting time to be looking at this stuff, especially with all the news about that U.S. government crypto wallet hack.
Hmm.
It just makes you think about how security is changing in this digital world.
Yeah, that was a crazy story. Hackers steal millions in crypto from the government, and then bam, they return a big chunk of it. What do you think was going on there?
Well, some people are saying it was like a moral hacking thing,
Yeah.
a way to show that the government systems aren't as safe as they think. But if they're really trying to be good, why not give it all back? It really makes you think about what these hackers were trying to do.
True, things aren't always black and white. And that story definitely shows how tough it is for governments to keep up with all the changes crypto is bringing.
For sure. And speaking of government and money, did you see that idea about getting rid of income tax completely? Talk about a radical change. It would totally change how governments get their money.
It's wild to think about. The U.S. didn't even have income tax until 1913. Before that, it was mostly tariffs paying for everything. Then World War I came along and they needed cash fast, so bam. Income tax was born as a temporary thing. Of course it stuck around.
And now, over 100 years later, we've got people like former President Trump saying, let's just ditch the whole thing. It makes you wonder, how would the government pay for anything?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. Some folks think we could go back to relying on tariffs, mostly. But could that really work these days with how global everything is?
It's a tough question. Tariffs alone probably wouldn't cut it, so we'd need to get creative. Maybe a national sales tax or VAT could be part of the solution. But each option has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
We have to think about what would be best for the economy and for people, too.
That's what I want our listeners to think about. How would getting rid of income tax change your life? Would you have more money in your pocket, or would other stuff just become way more expensive? It's a question with big implications for everyone.
For sure. And while we're on the topic of big things to worry about, let's talk about U.S. national debt.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it, but it's so huge it's hard to even understand.
I know, right? Back in 1981, it was around $900 billion. Now it's a crazy 36 trillion. That's like a 9% increase every year for the past 40 years. It's mind-blowing. And scary, too. You have to wonder, how does all this debt affect us day to day?
Well, one of the scariest things is inflation. When the government keeps borrowing and printing more money, the value of the dollar goes down. So everything costs more and your money doesn't buy as much.
Mm.
It's a vicious cycle where prices keep going up and our savings disappear.
So basically, the more debt the government has, the less our money is worth, and that affects everyone. Inflation makes it harder to afford the things we need, and it eats away at our savings. It impacts all of us now and in the future.
Exactly. And that's why some people are turning to alternative financial systems,
Hmm.
like cryptocurrencies, things like Bitcoin and Monero.
So let's talk crypto. Bitcoin's been making headlines for a while now. People call it digital gold. What's so special about it?
Well, the big thing is that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins. So unlike regular money, which governments can just print more of, Bitcoin is designed to be deflationary. As more people want it and the supply stays the same, its value should go up. That's why some see it as a way to protect yourself from inflation.
So it's like a digital safe haven for your money, protecting it from whatever the government or economy throws at you. It's a powerful idea.
But I know Bitcoin has its critics too.
Oh, yeah. Some people say that because it's deflationary, it could actually hurt the economy. And others point out that its price can be really volatile. It's definitely not without its risks.
It's true. You always have to look at both sides of the coin with cryptocurrencies. Now, what about Monero? I hear that one's all about privacy.
Yeah, Monero is different because it focuses on keeping transactions anonymous. With Bitcoin, anyone can see what's happening on the blockchain, but with Monero, it's all hidden. So it appeals to people who really value their privacy. It's interesting how different cryptocurrencies cater to different needs. I can see how that anonymity would be appealing to some, but I guess it also raises some concerns, right?
Absolutely. Some people worry that Monero could be used for illegal stuff since it's so hard to track. That's the thing with all these new technologies. There are always trade-offs.
We'd love to hear what you think about all this. Do you think cryptocurrencies are a good alternative to traditional banking? Are you excited about the possibilities or worried about the risks? Tell us what you think. But before we go too deep into the world of crypto, let's talk about something else that's been making waves. Central Bank Digital Currencies, or CBDCs.
Ah, yes. CBDCs. It's like the government is trying to get in on the digital currency game. Basically, they're digital versions of a country's regular money issued by the central bank. They're cutting out the middleman of commercial banks. And there's this really interesting program happening in Thailand where they're testing a CBDC that has an expiration date. Can you believe that? Money that expires.
An expiration date on money. Now, that's something I've never heard of before. How does that even work?
So the idea is to get people spending their money faster. By putting an expiration date on the digital currency, the government is hoping to boost the economy. People will be more likely to spend the money if they know it's going to disappear.
It's like a digital coupon for the whole economy. I can see how that might work. But doesn't that feel a little controlling? Like the government is telling you how to spend your money, and what happens if you don't spend it in time?
That's the big question. It's a tricky balance between encouraging economic activity and respecting individual freedom. Some people see it as a clever way to fight stagnation, while others think it's too much government interference.
It definitely makes you think about the future of money and the role of government in our lives. So tell us, what do you think? Would you be okay with a digital dollar that expires? Would you like the convenience, or would you feel like you're losing control of your own finances?
It's definitely something to ponder as we move further into the age of digital currencies. This is just the beginning of a very interesting conversation.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the fascinating world of hackers' taxes and the future of money.
Welcome back. So we've been talking about a whole lot of stuff, right? Government finances and crypto and cybersecurity. It's amazing how all these things are connected.
I know, right? It's all about money in the end and how we control it, or how it controls us. We started off talking about that crazy crypto hack. Remember that one? Hackers steal millions from the government and then they just give most of it back. It makes you wonder about security in this digital world.
Yeah, what was that all about? Were they trying to make a point?
Right.
Or did they just get cold feet? It shows how vulnerable we are, even with all the fancy tech we have.
And then there was that idea about getting rid of income tax. Could you imagine? No more income tax. It would change everything. We were talking about how the government would even get money if that happened. Like, would we go back to relying on tariffs or maybe some kind of national sales tax?
It would be a huge shift.
Yeah.
And each option has its own problems. It's not like there's one perfect solution that would make everyone happy. It makes you think about what's really important, you know? What are we willing to give up for lower taxes?
Exactly. And then there's the big one that's looming over everything, national debt.
Yeah.
It's like this giant monster in the room that no one wants to talk about, $36 trillion. It's almost impossible to grasp how much money that is.
And it keeps growing. That's the scary part. It's like we're on this runaway train and no one knows how to stop it. We talked about how all that debt leads to inflation, which just makes everything more expensive. It's like a hidden tax that we all have to pay.
Yeah, it feels like we're losing control sometimes. You work hard, earn money, and then it just buys less and less. It's really frustrating. That's why some people are turning to cryptocurrencies, I guess. Like maybe Bitcoin can save us.
It's an interesting thought, right? Bitcoin is supposed to be like digital gold. It's scarce, so its value should go up over time. At least that's the theory. It could be a way to protect yourself from inflation and all the craziness of the traditional financial system.
Yeah, we were talking about how Bitcoin is deflationary, which is the opposite of inflation. So maybe it could be a solution. But it's also really volatile. The price goes up and down like crazy. It's not for the faint of heart.
It's true. And then there's Monero, which is totally different. It's all about privacy. Your transactions are completely anonymous. That's appealing to some people, but it also makes you wonder if it could be used for bad stuff too.
It's like every solution has its own set of problems. It's a tough world out there. And then we have governments trying to get in on the crypto action with CBDCs. Remember we were talking about that program in Thailand where they're testing out digital currency that expires? That was wild.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Money with an expiration date, like milk. It's a pretty radical idea. It's supposed to encourage spending and boost the economy. But it also feels a little bit Orwellian, doesn't it? Like Big Brother is telling you what to do with your money.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think about the balance between freedom and control. On the one hand, it's like, okay, maybe this could help the economy. But on the other hand, it feels like we're giving up some of our autonomy.
It's a tough call. And it's something we're all going to have to grapple with as these new technologies become more widespread. The future of money is changing right before our eyes.
So what do you think is going to happen? Are we all going to be using digital dollars that expire in a few years? Will cryptocurrencies take over the world? Or will we stick with the traditional financial system even though it seems to be crumbling?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, no one knows for sure. But that's what makes this so fascinating. We're in uncharted territory and anything is possible.
It's exciting and scary all at the same time. But one thing's for sure. We need to stay informed and keep asking questions.
Absolutely. We can't just bury our heads in the sand and pretend this isn't happening. We need to be engaged and understand the forces that are shaping our world.
That's why we're doing these deep dives. We want to give people the information they need to make informed decisions about their financial lives.
So keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking questions. The future is ours to create.
Wow. It's hard to believe we're already at the end of our deep dive. We've covered so much ground, haven't we? From hackers and taxes to cryptocurrencies and digital dollars. It's been a wild ride.
It really has. We've gone deep into some pretty complex stuff. But I think that's important.
Yeah,
We can't just shy away from these big issues. We need to understand them if we want to make smart choices about our future.
absolutely. And I hope we've encouraged our listeners to think critically about all this information. It's not about just accepting what we hear, but really digging in and forming our own opinions.
Exactly. We need to be informed and engaged if we want to have a say in how the world is changing. Especially when it comes to money and technology, things are moving so fast.
I know it can feel overwhelming sometimes, but knowledge is power, right? The more we understand about these systems and these technologies, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the future.
And the more we can participate in shaping that future. It's not just about being along for the ride. It's about taking control and creating a world that works for everyone.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's turn it back to our listeners. What are your takeaways from all this? What resonated with you the most?
What are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to dive deeper into some of these topics? Talk to your friends and family about it? Maybe even start investing in crypto or exploring new ways to manage your finances.
The possibilities are endless, and we hope we've sparked your curiosity and inspired you to keep learning and exploring.
Remember, the future of money is being written right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
So stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. And until next time, happy deep diving.